everyone, welcome back to Painted Studio. Today we are working on these little cast iron bottle openers. It's Halloween season, so I thought these would be super fun to do. I picked these up in Cape Cod from one of my favorite places that I always get weird stuff to paint. And they're cool on their own, but I want to kind of do a Day of the Dead theme, and we're going to do a couple different color stories on that. So the first thing I have to do is paint the base colors. So one is going to start out with our solid silver. The other is going to come in with our red purple. Both of these are liquid metal from C Roberson. We love these paints. They bond to this beautifully. They're interior, exterior rated. So they are perfect for this job. So I'm going to set this one aside. I'm going to pull this one over to me, and we're going to start with this red purple. Now I have altered this color slightly because I used it for a big piece of furniture, but that should tell you that you can add colorants to these and not lose the metal effect of them, which is really, really lovely. In this one I used a little plum faux cream color from Faux Effects, or faux color from Faux Effects, because I needed it to be a little deeper purple than it was naturally. And I don't like to add just black to stuff to make it darker, because then it turns it a little ashy colored, and you don't get as nice a result than if you work with deeper colors and work with tones and things like that instead of just white and black. So this is, you can see, it's covering really, really nicely. And we're going to get a nice finish on this because this levels really well. Now there's a texture to these that comes from them being cast iron. So there's sort of this slightly pebbly texture. It's not really super smooth, but I love that look. Now, I say this all the time. I'm going to prove it to you, even though I'm sticking my fingers into the wet paint. Turn things, check your angles, make sure you've got all the surfaces painted, because what happens when you don't is that you come back to do another step and you find that you've missed an important spot. So I always try to turn things. I'm going to take my paintbrush, stick it in the nose, shove that up there, let that dry while we do this one. All right, let's close that up. All right, I know I'm taking chances. I'm wearing a shirt and I don't have an apron on today. You know, it's like I'm running with scissors today. Y'all should be very scared. All right, this is our liquid metal in solid silver, and this is one of the few that's really different from the others. It actually has aluminum in it, and the aluminum will settle to the bottom of the jar. So you need to give it a good stir before you brush it, because then it'll give a really solid coverage. So I'm stirring that up, and then when you open this jar, it will seem far, far more liquid than the other colors. Again, that's because there is actual aluminum suspended in here. So I'm going to wipe the handle off so I can get my hands in here and use the brush. And we're going to see if I got it stirred up enough. Yes, I did. So look at how nice that coverage. I always like to go dip all the way back down to the bottom, because I know I miss stuff. And I want that solid aluminum. Because then, look, there we go. Look at how solid that coverage is. Oh my goodness. I love this. Now, if you've watched any of my Facebook Lives, you know I use these products all the time. And I am always really, really impressed with how well this covers, how well it dries. The quality of these paints are wonderful. And of course, we do carry these. We carry them in our 30 milliliter size, which is about an ounce. Where's the front of that jar? Sorry. There's some of these jars are old enough I brought them back from the UK when I was first experimenting with them to decide whether we were bringing them in. But we have them in these 30 milliliter sizes, which is just over an ounce. Then we have them in the 250 milliliter size, which is just over 8 ounces. And you can custom order 1 liters and 2.5 liters, which is just over a quart, and about a half a gallon. We can even get them in gallon sizes, but those are, again, those larger sizes are custom order if I don't have anything in stock. All right, so let's take this, turn it around. I'm trying not to stick my fingers in it this time. Do I care that I'm getting paint in weird places on this? No, because on the back it won't matter. I think one of these I'm going to give to my son, who loves all things skull and that sort of thing. All right, let's stick that in there. Let's close this up. And what I have here that I'm using to cover up my paint jar is Glad Press and Seal. The reason I like it is it sticks to the jar, and then I can get it to seal up really, really well. All right, let me take a paper towel, wipe off my hands, because I've got silver paint everywhere. And then I'm going to move this one. Now, yes, I know I have a big blob of silver there, and we're going to come back with this one. Now, this one, it's a little damp, but it is ready for me to put some more layers on. So I'm going to just set it there, try not to get it into the silver. All right, so clean my hands off, get another brush. Which brush do I want to use? I think I'm going to use a fine liner. This brush happens to be a very fine brush. It's from Pierre Finkelstein. If you have never used his brushes, I highly recommend them. They're wonderful. What color did I want to use around here? Okay, I think I'm going to use our Royal Gold from C Roberson. This is a beautiful, rich gold. It's not as light as, say, classic gold, but it's a great one for Halloween. And so I'm going to kind of go around the eyes. Again, we're kind of going with the concept of sugar skulls from Day of the Dead, and while this won't be completely like that, it'll get some ideas. And we'll do something that looks like flower petals around the eyeballs and stuff like that. But the first thing I want to do on here is put a little outlining on the eyes and around the nose. Now, I did not bring any reference photos. That's not surprising. I've done a bunch of these, so I'm just sort of going from memory, and if I get it wrong, that's why I'm saying inspired by, because I may not get all the details right. All right, so I've got that. And let's come here. I'm going to put that over to the side. I'm going to make sure I seal that up really well, because I will then forget that I have it slightly open and it'll fall, and I'll coat myself with it. All right, what color next do I want to use? I want to use something bright, so we're going to use the bright green. Now, this is one of my original jars, so this is going to be a little thicker than what I would normally use. But we're going to come in here, and I need to turn this. do some, I'm actually, you know what, I'm going to change my mind on that because I want to use the green for the vines. So I'm going to come in and we're going to use some of our dark blue. This color is so gorgeous. And yes, I'm going right out of the jar because I'm not mixing anything. So I'm going to come in here and put some petals around the eyes, and I might have to come in and redo that color that's around the eyeball just to, because I'm painting over it a little bit. But flower petals are very common to have all the way around the eyes. And I'll probably add a little bright color in there as well. I think I'm going to take the brass and add on to this just so that it's a little brighter against this dark purple than the blues are. Although I do love this combination together. I happen to love seasonal holiday stuff from all kinds of different cultures. So I'm often inspired by them and like to do things that kind of reflect that feeling. And sugar skulls happen to be a huge favorite thing of mine. All right, let's come back in here. We're going to put a little bit of the brass in too. Sugar skulls often have a lot of black in them to create the hollows that the missing parts of the face would have. Well, this already has those, so we're going to just have some fun with this. Okay, I like that. I'm very pleased with how that looks. I'm going to come back and take my royal gold and refresh that outline around those eyes, just to clean it up a little bit. Okay. And then I think we're going to put a little bit of, what color do I want to use? I have a different color that I set to the side. We're going to use a little twinkle on the teeth, even though there's not much left in this jar, so let's hope I can get somewhere with this, because again, this is my original jar from the United Kingdom several years ago. So let's see if I can get anything out of this. Scooped a little bit out, trying to get a little water mixed into it. let's get some here in these teeth. Now, it almost looks like there's a double row of teeth here, and that might have been something they originally intended. But that's not what I'm going to paint, because that would look strange. Right in there, there's just almost like a second row. And then there's another row of teeth right down here. It almost looks like teeth are behind the lips, which is kind of bizarre. But that's how they cast it. Don't ask me questions like that. I don't know why they do things sometimes. They being the people who created this. But I really like that. And then I'm going to touch up the little tiny spot of purple that I got above those teeth. Now, a lot of sugar skulls and similar looks have flowers up here. There's usually like a crown of flowers, but I'm not putting a crown of flowers on them. I'm going to paint some flowers. Now, understand this is small. Painting things like roses is not my normal skill set without having a photo reference and things like that. I'm going to hope that I have some paint that's not completely dried up. Yep, I got some pomegranate red. All right, so we're going to do some very sort of rose looking things. By sort of roses, because I'm keeping this small and I'm keeping it simple. You do some swirls with your brush to imitate looking at the top of a rose. And it's almost a little toll painty looking, if you've ever done toll painting. But that's, you get those brushes, those brush strokes in, then I'll paint in some high. Now, toll painting, they'd have double-loaded brushes and things like that. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that means you've loaded at least 2 colors onto your brush. And that's what a double-loaded brush is. So I'm going to just kind of create these sort of lightheartedly, and then I'll put a little bit of other detail in, and then I'll put a couple more flowers. And we're going to try to keep this pretty simple because sugar skulls are actually designed to be sort of temporary. I know there's a lot of people who make them out of materials that are permanent, but sugar in its own right is not meant to be a permanent material. Okay, so I've got that. And let me take another, I think I have another jar of other silver here, so I'm going to go grab that. You never know what I'm going to need. All right. There we go. I'm always pulling something to see what I'm going to need. There's a little bit there. So we're going to take a little bit of this and kind of brush it into the wet paint just to give a little dimension. Okay, so now we've got sort of these pseudo roses there. And I'm going to take, what color should I take this time? I think I'll come back with the bronze, because I don't really have a yellow color. I don't have a yellow metallic, although I am looking at it, they do make one. So I'm just going to use a little brass here, and we're going to put a couple little petal flowers in here. And I'll put something in the center, and then I'll grab the green and we'll do some leaves. Okay, let's get one down here. And I'll grab a little, and we'll do some green in the center of them also to be, have their flower center. Okay, so here we go. This is our bright green. Let's put that in the center of each of these. Okay, I'm going to take the other one so I can get a little leaf shape in there. Okay. This will dry richer and darker than you're seeing right here because these are acrylic paints, so acrylic paints have to disperse that little bit of white cloudiness that comes from the acrylic medium. Okay, let's put that there. Okay, so there we go. Now, like I said, normally this is done on a white background, but we did it on purple. So we have this one. This is super fun looking. If I wanted to, I could create more design down here, but since I know this is a bottle opener and this is going to get the damage here, I don't want to put a whole lot of stuff there, and that will be really fun looking that way. So we're going to do that one. Now I'm going to come back here with our silver one, and we're going to go do the same kind of idea, probably some different colors, but the background always makes a difference on how things look. So, excuse me, my voice wants to quit on me today. Let's see, we're going to do some classic gold here. I think we might try to keep this a little more in the neutral tones. Oh, my classic gold jar is a little jammed, so if you don't want to hear loud noise, close your ears. What that does is help loosen the lid from the jar. So, let's start with the petals. I learned a little something on that one, so I'm going to take what I learned and use it here, which is I'm going to put the petals on before I put the eyeball color in. Okay. So I like the idea of having a couple of different colors going on, schemes going. For somebody who's not really wanting color in their house, but they want the same thing, same pattern idea, I come in and I do this all in shades of silver and gold. Oh, some browns, all of that stuff. And we even have a pink silver called Silver Blush and a green silver called Silver Verde. So we have the subtle metallics to do stuff like this. All right, so that's good. Now we're going to take, let's see, let's do this with Autumn Gold, which is a beautiful brown gold. Let's see if that's enough contrast, yeah. I love how this is coming out. I'm really pleased. And I love the purple one, so. It's really funny. Most of the time, if it's a small project, I do at least 2 of them because I can't make up my mind. And this is how my studio gets filled with stuff, because I can't make up my mind, so I have to do more than 1 of something. All right, so we have that there. I'm going to let that dry for a second. We'll do the teeth. And yes, I'm going to come back in and do the same color on the teeth. We're going to see if that shows up. This is silver, even though it looks almost white. Yeah, that's going to show. And each casting will have slight differences in it, so be aware that the way something paints on one thing will be a little different than how it paints here. See, here I have more definition on the teeth right here and far less down here. So sometimes things just cast, like just because it's cast doesn't mean it's identical. It will look different. There's always a big one in the center. And then a couple of smaller ones to either side. All right. Once you get your pattern down, it's easier to repeat. It's the first time doing it that you're trying to figure it out. That always makes it a little more challenging. All right, so I've got that in there. I'm going to take the silver again and use that just to lighten up a little bit of detail in there. So there's little highlights on each of these. I don't like the way that's highlighting. We're going to do some gold instead. That's the royal gold. That's green gold. Classic gold. Okay. And I know some of these will look very similar in jars, but actually they look really, really different when they dry. And yes, I will put some silver in here too, just because that adds a little contrast that I like. Come back in with the other silver. If you ever wonder how I get paint all over my hands, it's this way, because I'm constantly moving jars around and playing with stuff to get things the way I want them. Okay, that's better. All right, and then we're going to go back into autumn gold for the little flowers in between. All right. I'm going to take this. I'm going to have to put something in there to highlight the center of this, of each of these. So I think, let's see if I've got any of this silver blush left, or if that is hard. Well, folks, that's hard as hard can be. So that is not a good jar. We're going to put that to the side. Let's see, what else do I have here? Let's see what our Silver Verde does, if that one's hard. Yep, that one's gone too. So that's good to know. I should be tossing those out. So maybe we'll just take a little green, mix it with a little silver. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to be happy with that, I know. It's not going to get me where I want to go. Let's come back to see if there's any of that twinkle left here first. All right. I'm going to add a little twinkle wrinkle to these teeth because I want it to reflect a little differently than it's getting now that I can see it drying. I want to add a little more wow to it. Zhuzh it up a little bit, as the saying goes. And then we're going to take, what am I going to take here? Where's my brass? Okay. I'm going to take brass. I'm going to put it in the center of each of these flowers. Little brown ones. And as you can see, these are quick projects. These don't have to take all day. Okay, the last thing I need to do is get some leaves in here. And I just need to decide what color I'm going to do them. And I think I'm probably going to do them the autumn brown that I did. No, I did autumn brown there. Maybe I'll do the aged copper again. I don't want to do too much of the same thing right near each other. That makes things disappear. But as a fall palette for this, I think this would be fun. So we're going to put a little leaf here. A little leaf right here. A little one right here. And come up here on the top and do them. Now I will tell you that the silver, the solid silver, the one that's the base color here, takes a little longer to dry than the other colors, and that's because of the aluminum component and the materials that they use to suspend it. So you might want to make sure you give that a little extra dry time before you start playing with it. I'm going to spin this around just to make sure I haven't missed any spots. And I'm feeling like this might need a little extra something because this has got so much less color. So maybe I will outline the mouth slightly with the same way I outlined the eyes and the nose. Now, that might not make sense considering I painted the teeth, but it does need a little something here because the bottom half just ends up looking really solid otherwise. But I really do need it to have a little visual balance that it doesn't have. Now, these did not come, sorry, I'm babbling. These did not come with screws to go in here. So when I install it, and I will be installing them, I would take screws, and after I've put it in, I would paint the screws the same color as the base. If I were to send this to somebody, I'd paint the screws and send them with them so that the screws matched. Don't want to have it look off because there's, two screws in there that don't make any sense. All right. Again, I turn things to make sure they look correct from all directions. So having turned it around, like I always tell you to do to get the angles, I realize I don't like the mouth and the eyes the way they are. I think they're too light on the inside. They don't really fit the whole sugar skull thing. So I am taking the antique copper and actually I am brushing it into the eyes. I have a little bit of wet silver right there, so I'm kind of brushing it off. Like I said, this silver can take longer to dry, especially if I kind of globbed it on somewhere, which clearly I did right there. So I'm coming in, I'm doing the eye sockets completely with the antique copper. Is that the color? It's aged copper, sorry, not antique copper, aged copper. I can't even I get confused on the names of my own products. Okay, we're going to do the inside of the nose socket, and we're going to do the full inside of the mouth, and it'll fit better. And I can see that it already does look more the way I want it to. All right, let me turn it around. Look inside from all angles to make sure I got everything painted that I want to get painted. And there we go. So now we have two really fun sugar skull bottle openers just in time for Halloween. We have a bright and colorful one, and we have a more neutral metallic one. I think they're both fun. I like them both. Here we go.